Wingman Joker, thank you for listening to this channel and please support the channel. Please subscribe. Chapter 81, Assault. Lily and Hilda were in the basement of the gym building, where the shooting range was located. The girls have been here since dawn for their first gun lesson. They were scared at first, but after experiencing the thrill of firing a gun, they became a little too trigger happy. That will be all for today, said Hilda with a light smile, as she looked at the twins who just entered the basement to announce that breakfast was ready. Now, secure your guns and... She stopped talking and looked towards the door with a frown. Lily did the same. There are intruders. Someone has just isolated this mansion using a formation. You girls stay here and keep your guns for now, said Hilda, as she began to head out. Are they here for us? Asked Theta in terror. Not necessary. Mina, Mana, grab a rifle, then follow me. Miss Lily, you too, Hilda said as she took her phone and dialed a number then hung up. All the phones are being jammed. We have to rely on ourselves, she said. Lily quickly grabbed a dagger, a small gun, and a rocket launcher and headed out. Beta, you take care of the girls. Beta quickly nodded and began to assure the girls, who got a little nervous. While Mina and Mana quickly grabbed their weapons and followed Hilda. They quickly reached the upper floor and peered through the window to see nothing. Too bad they didn't install a surveillance system yet. Let me try, said Lily as she activated her survey skill. It works for long ranges, but it has bad accuracy and loses the ability to see clearly. There are 3 enemies. They are on the main road slowly heading towards the main building. We can meet with them if we go now, said Lily. Aunt Hilda, you go with the twins. I will hide in the shadows inside the mansion, Lily added as she began to head to the main building. You two stay with Miss Lily inside, I will meet them alone at the front door, said Hilda as she took a dagger from somewhere under her skirt and hid it carefully with the gun in her sleeve. It took them 5 minutes to reach the main building and enter through the back door, then head to the entrance. Through the windows, they could see 3 men in robes heading to the doors. Try to keep your distance. Those are martial arts practitioners. The 2 youths are a little strong but their talents are garbage. The old man is dangerous. Leave him to me, said Hilda, who used her talent measuring skill. She elegantly dusted her clothes then headed out. When Hilda stepped outside the door, the 3 visitors were a few feet away from the door. How can I help you? Do you know that you are attacking a Von Weiss property? Hilda said as she bowed slightly, in a superficial greeting. Von Weiss. The elder frowned, then looked angrily at his disciple who stepped forward proudly and yelled. I don't care what Von Weiss or Von Mize you call yourselves. This is Elder Brown from the Thunder Sect. The disciple abruptly stopped when his master snaked his head as he looked at him with anger. Those disciples of his had been so lazy in class, that they failed to remember the names of the top powers. They are now screwed. Their sect was just some third-rate power. And that was before the patriarch died. He quickly looked at Hilda as he weighed his options. This piece of shit disciple of his has screwed him good this time. May I meet the mansion's master? This humble one is an elder from the Thunder Sect, said the elder respectfully, as he sweated heavily. He is now officially screwed. He had just killed the guard and broke the front gate of a Von Weiss heir. Those guys would only be appeased after having his head in a box. His only option now is to ask for forgiveness from the mansion's master. The young master has left on a diving trip, but if you remove the blocking array, I can consider calling him for you, Hilda said. The elder frowned. Without the housemaster, their mission is a lot easier. I am looking for a criminal from our sect. Give him to us and we will leave immediately. He is a pretty boy who calls himself Alex, he said as his tone became a little less respectful. Oh, I can't give up on anyone without the young master's agreement. And that Alex is not here. He left with the young master, said Hilda as she readied her dagger. This guy would probably kill everyone here to hide his traces. She could see that his disciples had screwed up. She was right. Elder Brown didn't argue anymore, he just attacked her directly with a flexible sword that he was carrying around his waist. He already noticed the lack of surveillance cameras, and if his disciples' report was somehow trustworthy, there would be no more than 5 people in here. So he only needs to kill them all then burn this place to hide the fact that he was here. Hilda used her dagger to masterfully block the attack. All the Von Weiss servants had gone through multiple fighting courses. And despite not having a system skill, they were proficient in multiple martial arts. The elder was surprised that his attack failed. This maid was just a little bit weaker than him. He was a level 25, and that made him an elder in his sect. But people with such levels could only work as servants and maids in a top family like the Von Weiss. Go inside and search the mansion. Kill everyone you find. Be careful, yelled the elder at his disciples. This maid was struggling with him, and no one tried to help her. He believes he would be able to beat her when she gets tired. But he had to make sure that no other players were here. He was using his disciples to fish out hidden enemies. Although it would sadden him if something wrong were to happen to his disciples, he wouldn't mind it. He intends to kill them after leaving here anyway. Those two have very loose tongues. The two disciples quickly nodded and entered the mansion, while Hilda just gave them a fleeting glance. Your disciples will die, she said. It doesn't matter. Those fools made me offend the Von Weiss family, said the elder. Retreat now, and I will ask the young master not to pursue this, Hilda said. That won't work. I know how your families work, he said as he started a new round of attacks while watching his disciples enter the mansion directly without even surveying the door for traps. Those idiots deserve to die. He consoled himself. The two disciples kicked the front door and swaggered inside arrogantly to only stop abruptly in astonishment as they looked at the beautiful twins. Big brother, the one on the left is mine, and the other is mine, he said as he looked holding the assault rifles. Those things would not work on us, he said, to only be welcomed by a barrage of bullets. Those girls do not joke. But what he told them was true. The bullets were stopped by a yellow shimmering screen. This is a defensive artifact that stops any non-artifact weapons. We are going to enjoy you to the fullest. Right, big brother, said the disciple proudly. Big brother, he asked again, waiting for his brother's confirmation. But he heard nothing, so he looked to his side to see his big brother was already swimming in a pool of his own blood. His throat was slit. The disciple stepped back in horror while looking around to only feel Lily's steel dagger entering his ass. He didn't get the chance to scream as she moved the dagger up, separating him into two. Lily looked at the twins and nodded. They were not scared of the bloody scene. Victor's crash course in killing and dissecting goblins in the dungeon showed its effects. Lily slowly approached the window with the twins to observe the situation outside. Hilda was struggling while fighting the middle-aged man. She already emptied her gun's magazine in his shield. She was clearly weaker than him, and her arm seemed to have been injured. Lily turned to the twins, then gave the rocket launcher to Mina and asked. Can you use this? She asked. Yes, but it would not work on him, she answered. It doesn't matter. I can't use my stealth skill under the sun, so our only option is to distract him and let Hilda kill him. Just fire it, then run away on my signal, Lily said as they headed outside. The girls sneaked outside slowly while that elder fought Hilda. Lily could tell that he was aware of their presence, but didn't care about weak bugs. He was just cursing at his useless disciples. Lily looked at Hilda and winked at her as Mana fired the rocket launcher at the elder, who responded by activating his shield. So after the rocket exploded and shook the entire building, the smoke cleared to reveal the smirking unharmed elder, whose eyes soon lost focus as he looked at the other thing the smoke revealed. It was Lily, who was dancing slowly in the yard after removing her veil. The effect of her removing her veil doubled the mesmerizing dance effects many times, rendering the elder who has long committed himself to a hermit's life spellbound. It lasted just for a couple of seconds, but that was enough. Hilda, who has already prepared her dagger, stabbed him from the back, killing him in seconds. The elder didn't flinch at all. He didn't even feel the dagger going through his heart. His body slowly fell to the ground, but his eyes never left Lily. She slowly put back her veil on as she looked at his lifeless corpse in contempt. She wanted her young master to be the first one to see her dance. Chapter 82, Fate. When Alex woke up, she was astonished to discover that she was sleeping with someone in a sleeping bag. The last thing she remembers was being struck unconscious by some crazy girl. What happened? She panicked a little as she felt a hand around her waist. But the bag was cramped and she couldn't move. She slowly turned her head to see that it was her purple-haired young master beside her, so she breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't mind if it was him. Wait a minute, what the hell am I thinking? She scolded herself. Wait, there was someone else in the sleeping bag, she thought. She slowly raised her head a little, to see that it was the one-eyed blonde girl who hit her earlier. She was wide awake, throwing death stares at the sound-asleep young master. Alex slowly lowered her head, then closed her eyes, deciding to pretend to be asleep, thinking that this was none of her business. She didn't know how to face the young master if he woke up right now. So she just had to bear with it for a little while and wait for him to wake up. The feeling of his hand around her waist was not bad though. Ellipsis. Alpha was really upset. Last night, Victor got thirsty after laughing for half an hour. So he asked if there was a water source nearby. She guided him to the little fountain on the wall of the temple. He quickly washed his face and drank then, after filling a water bottle, he took out his chair and leisurely sat on it while ordering her to take off her filthy rags and take a shower. Saying that she stinks. That was rude, but she still did as she was told. She didn't dare disobey as she knew a lot about the horrors of blood seals. And it wasn't like she minded. Titus and Baron have already done much more than that to her and her younger sisters. That was a mistake. She should not have obeyed him. His fiery eyes that were watching her shower made her very embarrassed. She didn't know why, but she couldn't just ignore him. After finishing quickly, she was pleasantly surprised to find that Victor was nowhere to be found. She was so embarrassed that she didn't even notice him leaving. Was he not satisfied with her looks? Her clothes rags were missing. In their place, there were some folded men's clothing. She knew those were Victor's. After some hesitation, she quickly took them and wore them with a faint blush showing on her cheeks. When she returned to the main hall, she was surprised to find that Victor had already laid a double-sized sleeping bag on the ground and was sliding inside it. That butler-dressed pretty boy was already inside. Ah, so that's it. He swings that way, she thought. Come on in, there is a place for you, he said, debunking her theory. I need to keep watch, we can't all sleep. She found an excuse to refuse him. You already said that spiders can't come here. Don't worry, I will use my disguise skill, and nothing will happen. Now get in. This is an order. I can see that you didn't have a good sleep in a while. Victor said. She scowled at him then reluctantly entered the bag. It was a little tight with 3 people, and that pervert Victor quickly slid his hand around her waist. Just sleep, he said as he closed his eyes. She was surprised, he really only wanted to sleep. She didn't want to do that though. She will never surrender to him. He may have her body and soul, but she would keep whatever was left of her. However, soon her tiredness defeated her, and she slowly closed her eyes. He was right, for the previous 6 months, she rarely had a good night's sleep. And the feeling of his warm hand on her back was not bad. Blah, what am I thinking? She wondered as she slept soundly. She woke up to a light movement in the bag. At first, she thought it was Victor playing some dirty tricks, but to her surprise, it was that pretty butler. He seemed a little shocked after waking up and seeing the situation. To her surprise, he quickly laid back after looking at her. He was pretending to be asleep. Is he an idiot? She wondered as she relaxed and began to examine Victor's face. This guy is a pervert. But he is truly handsome. Ellipsis. When Victor woke up, he could feel Alex's and Alpha's bodies around him. This feeling is not bad at all, he thought as he looked at Alex who was pretending to be asleep, then at Alpha who was glaring at him. Did you sleep well? We have a lot of hunting to do today, he said, as he slowly slid out of the bag then stood up and began to stretch. Alpha followed him out, without answering. This was the best sleep she had in a long time, but she was too embarrassed to say that. Victor stood and observed Alex who was still pretending to be asleep. This useless boy didn't wake up since you knocked him yesterday, he said as he turned to Alpha. Alpha, you carry him. I will use him as a lure for the spiders, Ha added. Making Alex quickly wake up. Ah, good morning young master, she said as she stood up. What morning? It's around noon now, but this place has no sun. He berated her as he took some energy bars from his ring and gave them to her and Alpha. Then sat down on his chair to eat. Alpha quickly munched on hers as she had not eaten any humanly edible food for a long time. She only survived on spiders' remains thanks to her survivor skill. As for Alex, she returned the bar to Victor. Young master, I still have no appetite, she dejectedly said. That mushroom was surprisingly effective. Victor nodded and threw the bar to Alpha, who happily devoured it. Young master, who is she? Alex asked. She is Alpha, Beta's and the other's big sister, and my new toy, personal maid, said Victor, making Alex quite astonished. You just met the girl and she is already your maid. What kind of black magic is this? Hello, I am Alex, she greeted Alpha. I am Alpha, sorry about hitting you earlier, she answered while chewing. Alex quickly began to ask her about what happened to her while Victor, who didn't care about them, began to watch the drawings on the temple wall. They were of people fighting what appeared to be a giant humanoid spider that was spitting poison. This must be that Black Widow, he thought. It had a woman's body and spider legs. He wondered what kind of world could produce such a monster. Feeling that he needed some preparation, he started to browse the system store. He didn't intend to fight the boss, but he can't tell if this dungeon had some kind of a sub-boss or an elite monster. The store has 3 sections. The first one is the permanently available merchandise. Those are mostly healing pills, talismans, and the like. Consumable items that are useful in dungeons and combat. They were ordered by the required authority and price. The second section is random merchandise, those are updated daily. He didn't care about this section before because of the long cooldown time. But now it was usable after the cooldown time was shortened. The last section was dedicated to player merchants. But this place was as desolate as ever. There were not many merchant players. And those who existed preferred to sell their items at auctions in the real world. Only after the reckoning would this section be filled with all the useless items that only poor people would want to buy. Sometimes he heard merchants bragging about finding a hidden treasure there though. Too bad he didn't have much money left. There was a nice item that suited Alex at the random section today. Wait a second, he yelled as he stood up and glared at Alpha, who was munching on her 4th energy bar. She shrank her neck as she looked at him. She was wondering what this pervert was thinking about. Victor quickly operated his menu, jumping from one screen to another until he found a screen buried deep inside the system. Alex, there is a water fountain at the back of the temple. Go wash up, and don't return until I call you, Victor said as he glared at Alpha. Alex quickly nodded and escaped, knowing that the young master was going to have a private conversation with that Alpha. And this was a good chance for her to take a shower. She still had the feeling of spiders crawling all over her body. Dear Alpha, you forgot to tell me a very important thing, Victor said with a smile. What? Alpha feigned ignorance. Your family has given you precious information and unique skills. What else did they give you? He asked with a smirk. My beauty, she joked, you already know. Seeing his glaring eyes, she quickly added. I didn't expect them to leave you all that coins. From now on you will be my piggy bank, said Victor as he looked at the astronomical number displayed on the system screen. Those were meant to rebuild my family, she said dejectedly. I will help you do that. And I will use those as my fees, he said. Alpha glared at him with hatred and sighed. I don't remember anything about my family. Just what the man who raised me told me and the information in my mind. But rebuilding the family is my fate. So you better really help me do it. You can't mess with fate, she said, knowing that the coins were gone, no matter what she said. Don't worry, whatever I take from you I will return it later, doubled. Consider it an investment, he said. He didn't like her dejected looks. Wait, what did you just say about fate? He suddenly looked at her strangely. Rebuilding my family was my fate. That was what the man who raised me said. The family used some kind of fate artifact to choose the most suitable seeds to send into the world, she said, making Victor ponder for a few seconds. He briskly stood up and went directly to Alpha's side, then crossed his legs and sat on the ground facing her. Don't talk or move, no matter what you see or hear, he ordered, then began to look at her intensely. Alpha was slightly surprised but quickly nodded. What game is this pervert playing now? Targets. Player female. +2. Cost. 2 order points. Revealing. Victor activated his Eyes of Destiny skills, and his eyes turned into a rotating black and white yin-yang symbol as he looked at her. This is a skill of fate, she exclaimed, but seeing blood coming out of Victor's eyes, she quickly shut up and sat still. If something bad were to happen to him, she would be hurt too. But this was too shocking. Fate skills are extremely rare, and she clearly recognized the symbol in his eyes. Fate. A+ rank. Talent. SS rank. Victor's expression was very bad at the moment. He should have known earlier. Someone with her talent and fate, how could she get stuck in a dungeon? It was fate's plan for her, he thought as he quickly looked at the fate threads. There were just a few. Heading up toward the sky, presumably outside the dungeon, there were 2 kinds: black malicious ones and semi-transparent undefined others. In addition to a big undefined one. This was not a person, but a life goal. It should be the rebuilding of her family. There were 2 other important threads though. The first was a little ethereal and had a red tint. This must be her blood slave fate connecting her to him. The other was golden, but not formed. This was her fated one. And to Victor's horror, it was heading deep into the dungeon. And this was not the direction Tom was in. This clearly explained why Alpha, who seemed to be an overpowered scion, was not one. She was fated to be a scion's woman. And whoever that guy was, he was in the dungeon with them. *T, yelled Victor as he deactivated his skill and laid down exhausted on the ground. What did you see? Alpha asked nervously. We are screwed, Victor, who looked at the ceiling, said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Chapter 83. Sebastian. Victor's situation was really bad. He was not sure if the fated one was a scion or just a normal person. But his gut was telling him it was the former. What shit luck. Throughout his previous life, he only ever met 2 scions in person. One of them was the one who killed his family. And now, this guy would be the 3rd one he meets after Tom and Alex. It was as if the world itself was throwing them at him. He didn't have many tools to use against this guy. He couldn't enslave him as his blood slave slots were already full. And if he tried to kill him or hurt him badly, he would suffer a lethal backlash as his fate shield was still in cooldown. Victor turned his head and looked at the surprised Alpha. His earlier words shocked her. "Don't worry, I am screwed for now. You will be screwed too, but later," he said. Making Alpha, who had completely understood him, blush. "Pervert," she spat as she looked away. She couldn't understand why she reacted like that. She hadn't even flinched when Titus kept calling her dirty names. Victor noticed her reaction to his teasing, and that made him wonder. Maybe, after he made her his blood slave, their fates became interconnected. Maybe, just maybe there's a chance. But this girl was no fool. Victor tested her the previous day when he ordered her to shower in front of him. She obeyed him without complaints. And that was unnatural, considering her first reaction when she met him, and the fact that she seemed to hate all men, especially after what Titus did to her. How can a cold, proud girl like her become docile just like that? Victor knew perfectly what was going on in her little mind. She was planning to obey him temporarily, to use him for revenge and maybe to rebuild her family, then get rid of him after that. All slavery skills have a fatal weakness. If the authority of the enslaved grows much higher than the master, the seal can be broken. And Alpha, as a von Richter heir, only needed to level up to raise her authority. She believed that one day she would have enough authority to break his blood seal. Poor Alpha didn't know that all her plans were destined to fail the moment she licked his blood. But now he needed to know more about his future enemy. "Did you meet anyone besides me and Alex here?" he suddenly asked her. "No, I didn't venture deep. The spiders seem to become more poisonous the deeper you go. And there are some very sticky webs. There were some corpses in those webs though. They were wearing modern clothes, so I suspect that they were the first ones who found this place," she answered while wondering about what he discovered. Victor nodded, as he pondered about the current situation. It means whoever this savior is, he only entered the dungeon recently. This girl was a damsel in distress, locked in here alone in the dungeon, and was fated to be rescued by a hero who would help her rebuild her family that sooner or later would become his. It seems that Tom's fate brought him here by chance to save him from Baron. His fate will properly not affect Alpha's fate. Destiny would have not brought him here if it did. Victor was like a hacker who used Tom as a Trojan horse to enter Alpha's and her fated one's destiny. If he didn't fix the current situation, the world would turn this guy into his enemy sooner or later. "What kind of guys do you like?" he asked her again after pondering for some time, making her blush. "I don't want to answer that," she said as she turned her head to the side. Victor didn't force her to answer. He was just curious what kind of person her fated one would be. "What did you see? I know you were looking at my fate," Alpha asked him suddenly, making him look at her in surprise. "Do you know about fate?" he asked. "Not a lot. My family tried to grasp it but failed. I need to warn you though. Those looking at fate don't usually live long," she said. Victor nodded. He already knew that. People usually died from fate's backlashes. But he had his Fate Weaver class and his massive authority. So, if he played his cards carefully, he would be able to cheat the system. "Do you really want to know what I saw?" he asked her. "Yes," she answered firmly. While knowing fate is usually not a good thing, she was in a very bad situation at the moment. "I can't tell you. I would suffer a backlash. But I can say that there is something dangerous waiting for us here," he said. Before Alpha could question him further, they heard Alex's high-pitched scream coming from the back. So, he looked at Alpha and quickly headed to Alex's position with her, while taking out his dagger. Alex, who seemed to have put on her clothes in a hurry, was standing with her hair still dripping wet in front of the fountain. A door with a flight of stairs going down into the ground had appeared in the wall behind it. "What did you do?" asked Victor as he inspected the new door. This girl couldn't be left alone even for a minute without creating some kind of trouble. I saw a drawing of a spider in the fountain. So I screamed and instinctively hit it with my spear. Then the wall opened up," she answered with some embarrassment. "And you still call yourself a man?" Alpha spat at her as she inspected the doorway, too. Alex didn't say anything, she just shot Alpha a glare. And was about to ask Victor what to do when he suddenly threw a towel at her head. Dry your hair, I will go in with Alpha while you guard the gate. There may be spiders in there, Victor said. He quickly washed his face and eyes, then gestured to Alpha to follow him as he entered the secret door. Alex was a little surprised but quickly felt warm inside. Her young master really cared about her. But she didn't know that Victor was just afraid she would cause more trouble. And he needed to discuss some things with Alpha in private. Victor slowly descended the stairs while Alpha was illuminating the path using a flashlight he gave her. At the bottom, there was a hall with a huge mural on the wall and a dusty stone table with 2 artifacts on it. The ground was covered with many interlocking lines as if they were some kind of alien formation. Be careful, said Victor as he slowly used his appraisal skill on everything around him. It's safe, he said after his scan found no traps, and he walked slowly into the room. Are those the dungeon's rewards? Alpha asked in surprise while looking at the stuff on the table. No, do you know what dungeons are? He asked her. According to my family's research, they are protective measurements taken by the world to contain invaders, she said. No, not only invaders. Victor contradicted her. This information he knew was only discovered after the reckoning. Hostile dungeons make up only 1% of all the discovered ones. Most of them are just powerful creatures or domains that somehow entered this world. Think of it like a big planet attracting asteroids and space dust. Most of it will burn on entry. But the strong ones succeed, and the world creates a dungeon around them, he added. This dungeon must have been created to contain a sealed world shard that entered our world. This mural tells the tale of a demon Arachne who was sealed here. This temple was constructed as a base for this world shard, he said as he looked at the 2 treasures. Those 2 are the locked world catalyst? Alpha asked while pointing at the 2 artifacts, quickly figuring it out. Yes, said Victor as he looked at them with a frown. Arachne Slayer's Spear, S rank. Critical damage against insects. Orus's Jewel, SS rank. Effect. Mask presence. Depends on the authority of the owner. Current owner equals none. Option set equals dead. Options available 4/10 disable, moral, mythical being, dead, register. Those things were probably fated to be discovered by the Scion. And that jewel was amazing. This was the key that she would have used to leave the dungeon if he didn't come here. The spear is meant to be used to kill the Black Widow, while the tiara is a disguise artifact. It's the reason why no spider is entering here. The array on this tower is amplifying its effects to the entire temple. Victor said as he took out his phone and began to take photos of the array. Ah, wouldn't the Black Widow be very powerful? Alpha asked as she slowly watched the mural, where many warriors faced the Arachne then entrapped her in a hole in the ground, then build this temple to seal everything around her forever. Probably not. There are no living beings here for her to eat. And this dungeon is only E-ranked. So it must be weakened considerably, he said as he took some samples from the ground and the walls. Go up, this place will no longer be safe after I take those things. So I need you to help Alex in case some spiders suddenly attack, he said, making Alpha nod, then leave here after giving this hall one last look. Victor quickly took out a bottle from his ring and applied its contents to the tip of the spear. This bottle was the one he inherited from the late Nick. He doesn't know if this would be useful, but this was the best he could do for now. After that, he quickly grabbed the spear and the jewel before following Alpha. When he reached the top, he was surprised to see that Alpha was blocking the door, while Alex was standing there, facing a newcomer with a frown. He was a boy, about 12 to 13 years old. He was wearing a robe and carrying a staff while glaring at Alex with vigilance. Alpha was frozen in place as she looked at him. This boy was very cute, especially with his brown hair and hazel eyes. Victor, who was behind her, quickly noticed the situation and frowned as he used his appraisal skill from his hiding place behind Alpha in the shadow of the stairs. Sebastian Silver. Level 51. Abnormal status. Eternal martial arts side effect, slow aging. Class. Battle mage. Authority. 6. Strength. 65 intelligence. 60 agility. 80. Luck. 35. Charm. 40. Order. 19. Skills. Minor magic creation SS. Eternal body defense SS. Fireball A. Fire vortex A. Burn resistance A. Spear arts B. Water ball B. Staff arts B. Poison resistance B. Dagger arts B. Mountain giant palm B. Poison resistance B. Paralyze resistance B. Charm C. Master steps D. Illuminate D. Fate status. S+ Cyan. Victor quickly docked his head and stepped back a little to hide himself. This guy is definitely not a kid and was the most dangerous enemy he has ever met after his return. And looking at Alpha's reaction, he could tell that this bastard was her type. His plan was not finalized yet, but he had to improvise it seemed. He doesn't need to be that guy's enemy. He quickly activated his disguise skill, changing his appearance before hiding the jewel in his storage ring. As for the spear, he held it proudly then walked out of the secret door after pushing the astonished Alpha a little then ran to Alex's side while screaming. "Young Master Alex, look what I found." He screamed excitement as he ran to the side of the astonished Alex. "Sorry, Alex, but the best way to beat a Cyan is to face him with another," thought Victor. "Ah, who is that cute kid?" Victor suddenly asked in astonishment while pointing at Sebastian who looked back at him with hidden lust in his eyes. Victor was no longer a man. He was now disguised as a female, using the looks of a very famous movie star from his previous life. Her looks would score 50% on the Lily scale. "Sorry Alpha, I will be stealing your man," he thought as he flashed his sweetest smiles. Chapter 84, Vivi. Sebastian was simply amazed, he had never seen such a beauty before. "Who is this cute kid? How old are you?" she asked with her ethereal voice. "My name is Sebastian, I am 13 years old." "Nice to meet you," Sebastian said, trying his best to keep his kid persona. He has long discovered that women lower their defenses quicker that way. "I wonder what would be her reaction if she knew that I was 30 years old," he wondered. "Ah, I will call you Sebi. My name is Vivi, this is my young master Alex. The young master of the Thunder sect. And that one is Alpha, his first maid," she said before turning to her master. "Please, young master, you can't hurt him, he's only a child," Vivi pleaded as she stood between them with her back to him. Alex shot her a strange look, then slowly nodded as he lowered his spear. "Fine, I will not kill him," Alex said, making Sebastian curse silently. "You, kill me, my eternal body technique would allow me to heal faster than your puny techniques can hurt me," he thought. "I was just surprised by his sudden appearance. Next time don't jump and scare adults like that kid," Alex said arrogantly. Sebastian said nothing, just glared at Alex as he put away his staff. "The Thunder sect, huh? It's just a third-rate power that I can destroy at any moment." He thought the only reason he heard about it was that he was bored one day and read the list of lower sects. But, as far as he knew, it was in a faraway land. What are they doing here? Before he could ask them about that, Vivi asked first. "How did you get here? Are you a player? Did someone throw you here on purpose?" Vivi asked him as she observed him with her beautiful hazel eyes. Is this girl really this naive? Or is it just innocence? He wondered. "Ah, yes, I am a player. I was on a trip to the Shadow Valley when I discovered a strange cave, and when I entered it I was transported here," he said. "Ah, it's amazing to be a player at your age. You must be amazing, right young master? You were the same age as him when you became a player." She turned to Alex and said then looked back at him as she tilted her head cutely, "But what do you mean by Shadow Valley? We never heard of that. We entered from a small ravine near the Thunder sect," Vivi said with amazement. "Ah, you must have found another entrance. It's not unheard of for a dungeon to have multiple entrances, but it's rare. I came from a small obscure sect near New Verda City next to the Shadow Valley. It's a famous tourist attraction." He lied, he was not from a small sect, but from a hidden sect that was miles away from New Verda City. "New Verda, wait, we are on a different continent," exclaimed Vivi, making Alex and Alpha look at her then at Sebastian with amazement. "Yes, that is amazing," nodded Sebastian. "What is that thing in your hand?" he asked as he looked at the ominous-looking spear in Vivi's delicate hands. "Ah, I nearly forgot. Young master, I found this thing inside. It was probably meant to kill that Black Widow. There are murals inside with drawings of some warrior using this to stab a large spider," she said as she handed Alex the spear. "Ah, good job," said Alex with some hesitation. There was some fear in his eyes. Sebastian could tell that he was not comfortable holding that spear and was avoiding touching the spider drawings on it. Was he arachnophobic? What a wimp. "May I look at it?" asked Sebastian after Alex inspected it. Ah, Alex didn't know what to answer. "Young Sebi, this weapon is very sharp. And you may prick yourself," said Vivi with some concern. "Don't worry, I am proficient in spears," he reassured her. Alex didn't say anything as he handed the spear to Sebastian, who began to inspect it with interest before returning it to Alex. You keep it. I don't like this spear's ominous color. Alex arrogantly said, refusing to take the spear. Sebastian nodded and kept it. He could tell that this thing was at least an S rank. That Alex was simply an idiot. I will go inside and take a look. Do you mind? Sebastian said as he approached the stairs without waiting for an answer. Yeah, said Alex with hesitation from the back. At the secret door, that girl, Alpha, who was still standing there, quickly gave way while glaring at him. Sebastian felt that she was a little pretty, too bad that her eye is damaged. He could tell from the way she tied a cloth over it. He quickly entered the secret chamber and after inspecting it he confirmed what Vivi said. This was truly a weapon to conquer that arachne. The mural on the wall showed a burly man using it to hunt the arachne, then following it into a big cave where he trapped it by closing the opening with a big boulder. This must be the boss's room. When he went up, he could tell that Alex had got himself back together and was acting like an arrogant young master. He was scolding Vivi for being a klutz, while Alpha seemed to be cursing at someone for being a pervert while preparing a backpack with a big sleeping bag. They seemed to be preparing to explore the dungeon. Let's travel together, Sebi. It's dangerous to be alone here. Vivi approached him and said after her young master dismissed her. Be careful with the spear, it is very sharp. This was your lucky day. The young master really hates spiders. And the engraving on it made him angry. If you didn't take it, he would have ordered me to throw it away, she whispered. Ah, so that's why he gave it to him. This confirmed his guesses, that Alex is afraid of spiders. Did he hurt you? Sebastian asked her in a faint voice, as he could see that her delicate hand was a little swollen. Don't worry, I am used to it. I am his second maid after all, she said as she ran away avoiding the subject. But he could see the tear marks on her cheeks. That monster, how could he beat such a delicate girl? If you want to travel with us, you better not slow us down, said Alex as he took a golden spear and began to make his way forward. Sebastian said nothing. He followed them silently after filling his water bottles. He kept watching Alex and his maids. His guts were telling him that there must be something wrong here. During the next 4 hours, they kept advancing toward the boss's room. They could tell that this was the right direction, because of the increase in the spider's size and the web traps that appeared more frequently. Every now and then, they would be attacked by some spiders. Sebastian watched as Alex fought the spiders using his spear from the back while his two maids who used daggers to kill the spiders acted as tanks for him. They were not bad for their levels, especially Alpha, but Sebastian didn't like her nor the death glares she was giving Vivi. Let's take a break. This young master is hungry, said Alex as he slowly stopped then sat down on the folding chair Vivi set for him. This guy is a weakling. He was probably level 1 or 2, while Vivi was level 5 and that Alpha was about level 25. He could tell from their fighting style and speed. They can easily survive here with the normal spiders but they would probably die if they fought the boss arachne. Sebi, eat this. You don't seem to have anything to eat, said Vivi. Suddenly, breaking his thoughts, she presented him with an energy bar. No thank you, I have my own rations, he said as he took out a bag of specially prepared energy capsules. He would never take something from someone he had just met, especially in a dungeon, he thought, forgetting about his new spear. Ah, that's good, Vivi said as she unwrapped the bar and ate it happily. Wait a second, was that her share? What a good girl, he thought as he looked at the other two who were also eating. But he never expected what happened next. When he returned to the group after answering nature's call, he saw Alex slapping Vivi's beautiful face. He was scolding her for giving his precious food to strangers, and kept yelling at her even after she told him it was her share. Even that Alpha seemed to be saying things about how disgusted she felt about her behavior. What an evil master and maid duo. Despite clenching his fist hard, and feeling his fingernails digging into his palms, Sebastian didn't intervene. Vivi was Alex's maid, and she probably had a slave seal. He knew better than trying to save her blindly. And if he said anything, that Alex would probably take it on her again. That didn't stop him from hating Alex more though. But if he killed him here Vivi and that Alpha would probably take the blame and be executed by their sect. You shouldn't intervene in other people's business when you go outside. The world is treacherous and full of traps. He sighed as he remembered his master's advice. He walked slowly out of his hiding place and revealed himself. Alex that coward quickly let go of Vivi then returned to his seat while glaring at Sebastian. Sebastian glared back. During their next trip, the situation was a little tense. Only Vivi would joke a little while hunting spiders. That girl is funny. The situation got more dangerous as their road forward was full of spider webs. But thanks to his fireballs, all those were incinerated so they could walk easily. The spear in his hand was simply amazing. The spiders seemed to fear it. So he could hunt them quickly and efficiently by using Alex and Alpha as shields. He felt a little guilty about Vivi though. She was given the task of collecting gems and she would also help him collect his and would secretly give them to him while Alex was not watching. It didn't take them long to reach a circular clearing. In its center, it had a man-sized hole in the ground leading to some big cave. The boss's room. The boss should be down here, he said, as he looked at Alex who stood in the back a little hesitant. What a wuss, Sebastian said as he inspected the hole carefully. The hole had many mystical inscriptions around it. This was the one in the mural earlier. Something was strange though. There was a big stone that should be covering the hole. But it was on the side, someone must have slid it away. Vivi, you go in there and check the situation, Alex said arrogantly as he grabbed Vivi's hand and threw her in. Sebastian could see the fearful look in her eyes as she fell inside. He glared at Alex and intended to jump after her, but seeing the spear in Alex's hand, he chose to be cautious and wait for a little. Being injured here, next to the boss's room, was dangerous. After 5 minutes, he heard Vivi's sharp scream, so he jumped in quickly to look for her while being prepared to counter Alex's stab in the back that didn't arrive. What happened next was not something he expected. The spear in his hand seemed to have come alive as it tilted and cut his face. Sebastian quickly stabilized it as he landed in the cave and looked around, then at the spear to notice that it had some spider threads tangled on its base. He didn't notice those before, they must have been somewhere on the gate. He cursed silently, lamenting that it was his mistake for being too preoccupied with Vivi and Alex. He told himself to calm down as he whipped the blood from his cheek that had already healed. Just as he was prepared to call for Vivi, the boulder that acted as the cave's door was moved back to its original location to cover the entrance. It was Alex locking him inside in the darkness. Damn it! Sebastian quickly hit the boulder, but it didn't budge. Bastard! When I leave here I will go to your thunder sect and remove it from existence. He yelled angrily as he took out a flashlight from his bag and began to explore his surroundings, only to hear a fighting sound in the distance. Chapter 85. The Rising Star. The Arachne was not something Tom was expecting. The clearing conditions said to kill the Black Widow, so he expected it to be a giant spider. But what he encountered was this half-woman half-spider creature. It would be okay if the human part was pretty, but this one was too grotesque for his taste. Tom was not afraid of its ugly face, 6 eyes nor its sharp teeth that protruded unnaturally from its gaping mouth. What annoyed him were the small spiders that kept descending from the ceiling and biting him as he fought it. Fortunately, those guys were not poisonous, but that didn't mean their bites were any less painful. He cursed silently as he scratched his arm. Another one bit him. Damn it! He cursed loudly as his sword made contact with one of the Arachne's legs. He quickly rolled to the back avoiding the web that it shot at him. Then he rose from his crouch and using his flaming sword, he struck its leg a second time before retreating and inspecting the results, to discover that it only left a shallow mark. This thing's armor is too tough, and his attacks are getting weaker after 4 hours of continuous fighting. He was getting extremely tired. But thankfully, that thing was too, and the system had been supplementing him with healing pills repeatedly. After the long fight and his repeated assaults on its legs, the Arachne's movement was not as fast as it was when he first started the fight. Although this cave was very large, it didn't lack obstacles. The huge stalactites that were covering the floor and the ceiling provided good grounds for maneuvers. So he has been using all those to his advantage. He felt that he should finish this quickly. The system has warned him that there were other players in here. But it was too whimsical to tell him their identity. He feared that the fat guy may have followed him here. For that reason, he hurried to the boss's room to clear the dungeon and get out as fast as possible. But this damn tenacious beast does not want to die. System notice. A player is approaching you from the back. Hide. Tom quickly found a boulder and stood behind it with difficulty looking at Arachne that stopped attacking him as it had felt the new enemy approaching. It screeched loudly then retreated a few steps. As if it feared what was coming from the shadows. It was a boy about 12 to 13 years old. He held an ominous spear in his hand. Tom wanted to warn him to be careful but he quickly remembered where he was. This was a dungeon and this guy is also a player. System notice. This kid is an adult. Don't be fooled, he is 2 times older and 3 times stronger than you. The system has noticed that the spear in his hand may be able to kill the spider. 2 choices. Attack the boy and take the Arachne Slayer spear. On success, You get the spear. Be warned though that you need to fight the Arachne after defeating that guy. On failure, you will not die, but you will wish you were. Keep hiding and watch. Plus use your phone to record the battle, then act after they get tired. On success, you will get rich after selling the recording. On failure of being discovered, you will not die, but you will wish you were. It's your choice. Tom looked at the notice strangely. No matter what he chose to do, his failure would result in severe consequences. But he was very tired right now, so he just kept hiding and watched as the boys started the fight valiantly. He was way stronger than the Arachne that began to retreat. It was being cornered by the fireballs thrown by the kid. They burned all its webs. The small spider's bites didn't affect the kid as he slowly approached the exhausted Arachne. The fight with Tom earlier had drained it. Suddenly the kid stopped and looked strangely at the disadvantaged Arachne. After letting out a savage howl that no child could make, he threw himself at it with his bare hand after throwing the spear away. What is going on here? What is that kid doing? That kid was a pervert. The flabbergasted Tom gasped in shock as he watched the obscene acts that the kid was committing in front of him. He was not into these kinds of shows. Should he call the police? Spider police. And wouldn't a black widow eat her partner after mating? Would that kid be eaten? System notice. That guy is under the effect of an aphrodisiac. Probably the effect of some nasty spider bite. What are you doing? Record it quickly. This movie can be sold for millions on the player's dark web. That guy would be a new star. Tom quickly nodded and took out his phone to record what was happening. He has to send it anonymously to avoid revenge. But it would really fetch him a good price with some customers. Maybe that pervert Victor would be interested. Damn, can't that guy finish already and clear the dungeon? Tom cursed. That Arachne was begging for mercy. Tom could tell from her screeches, but that kid was not letting go. It has already been 2 hours. Suddenly, Tom realized what the system meant when he told him, "You will not die, but you will wish you were." If that kid chose him instead of the Arachne, his end would have been miserable. Suddenly the Arachne began to disintegrate as a screen appeared in front of his eyes. Dungeon cleared. Congratulations. Countdown until closing. 59 minutes. What? Did that guy kill it just like that? Tom wondered as he lowered his phone and saved the recording before he looked at the collapsed kid. Should he snatch that spear? The kid appeared to be unconscious. He needed to decide quickly as he also had to search for the rewards room. System notice. Snatch the F*C King spear and run away. Tom nodded and quickly bolted into action. Ellipsis. Lily was busy helping the girls clean the front hall that was splattered with blood. She might have gone a little bit overboard by splitting that guy in half, as his internal organs were now scattered all over the marble floor. You could have just stabbed him in the chest. Why go for his ass? Mana blamed her as she scrubbed the floor. She felt little nausea at first but quickly got over it. Victor dissected a goblin for them in the dungeon to explain its weak points. I think it's just the young master's influence. Mina, who was carrying a bucket of water, replied in Lily's stead. Lily blushed lightly and wanted to refute them when the doorbell rang. So she quickly ran to open the door, escaping the conversation. Can I help you? She asked when she saw a delivery guy at the door. I am sorry, but you didn't have a guard on the gate, so I took the liberty to come here myself, he said as he took out a package. This was sent to this address. Please sign here, he added, giving her the receipt. Lily nodded. She quickly scanned the package with her skill, then signed the receipt and closed the door after thanking the man. The package's wrapper was transparent so she could see that it was a magazine. The family's monthly report. The front cover featured a shot of her young master, sitting on a gilded chair. And under him, a big headline reads, "The Rising Star. A New Elite." He looked dashing, but this photo was a little old, and Lily felt that it was missing something, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She really missed him, though. Where was he now? Was he alright? Chapter 86. The Black Widow. Alpha was glaring at Alex, who was washing her face at the fountain. They had returned to the temple after Victor escaped the cave, then closed the entrance, locking that poor kid alone inside. She had the urge to help Sebastian, but Victor had locked her power, rendering her helpless. And she couldn't go against Victor's wishes after all. He only told them that they needed to play along. Just you wait, when my authority grows higher than yours I will get my revenge. She swore. The Roots were pretty much spider-free after the massacre they committed with Sebastian earlier, so the trip only took them 30 minutes. Victor left them alone after that, saying that he was going to fetch something. She did hear some loud noises a little while ago. Was it him creating trouble? After about 2 hours, Alpha, who got bored cursing at Victor, decided to confront Alex. "You are female, aren't you?" Alpha said to Alex, who froze in her place, then turned to look at Alpha slowly. No, I am not," he said, stuttering. She didn't fool her, she could tell for a while now. The ring on her finger was the gender-swapping ring. This thing was unique and was stolen from a collector 50 years ago according to her inherited knowledge. "Whatever, it's not like I care. Why do you follow Victor?" she asked, not exposing Alex's secret, but wondering whether Victor knew about it. Alex hesitated a little, but after remembering what Victor said about Alpha being his new assistant, he began to tell Alpha the full story. About the sect's betrayal and her escape. Then how she met Victor and the deal between them. "Ah, so you are really the young master of the Thunder sect?" Alpha said in surprise. "Yes," acting like one once again was very refreshing, Alex said with some embarrassment. "But, why lie to that kid? Victor, that bastard was too vicious," she shouted, maybe to Alex, maybe to herself, or maybe to the entire world. "It's very rude to call your young master a bastard, and a vicious one at that. I will punish you later," Victor said as he appeared out of thin air at the temple's entrance. Since when was he standing there eavesdropping on their conversation? Alpha wondered with a little blush. Ellipsis. Victor walked slowly, then stood in the center of the hell where he took out his chair and unfolded it before sitting leisurely on it. "Are you worried about Sebastian? I should have told you earlier, that guy is probably about 30 years old. He is practicing some art called eternal body art. Do you know what that is?" Victor looked at her and asked. "What?" Alpha didn't want to believe him about Sebastian's age, but if what he told her about the eternal body art is true, then it may be plausible. Victor had no reason to lie about that. And that art existed in her memory. It also explains Sebastian's high level. It's an ancient art that was practiced by a long-forgotten sect. The Immortal Abode. But that sect has long been destroyed. She explained while wondering that maybe what Victor did was justifiable, that Sebastian dared to say he was 12, what a scumbag. But Victor was still too vicious. She thought, not realizing that what her young master really did to Sebastian was way beyond anything she could have imagined. Victor looked at her with horror in his eyes. The Immortal Abode was not destroyed at all. It emerged with the other hidden powers after the Reckoning and fought for world domination. At first, it was considered one of the top 5 new powers. But it was destroyed quickly in a catastrophic event, when an asteroid destroyed their sect on the day of their sect master's wedding, erasing everything there and killing all of the guests, including many high-leveled elders from the other powers, and destroying the delicate balance that the world finally achieved, throwing the great powers into a new war for dominance. Maybe it was not an accident after all. Whenever a scion was involved, things tend to take a crazy turn. It seemed not destroyed after all. And that guy already has the Arachne killing spear. He is fighting it in that cave to this moment. Victor said, making Alpha nod a little. He was the danger I told you about when I looked at your fate. That's everything I can tell you for now. Victor added as he took out a water bottle that was in his bag. There was something inside of it. A spider. What is that? Asked Alpha, as Alex stepped away slowly. The Black Widow, this dungeon's boss. Said Victor with a sigh. Those idiots were still fighting the Arachne in the cave, not realizing that it was not the boss. The notification clearly stated kill the Black Widow. That thing only has 6 eyes. A Black Widow has 8. What, isn't the dungeon's boss an Arachne? What about the murals? Alpha asked. I told you, those are not created by the dungeon, but by whatever otherworldly power built this place. The world could kill Arachne easily. Do you know what conditions the world needs to create a dungeon around a target? Victor asked. Alpha shook her head. The target, a monster most of the time, should have an S rank fate or higher. The world would not be able to kill it, so it just contains it. Victor said, as far as I know, creatures with S fate are nearly impossible to kill. But bosses get killed all the time. Alpha said she was not that knowledgeable about fate. They are hard to kill in their original world. That's why the dungeon gets created. To sever them from their original destiny. Victor said as he looked at the little cute Black Widow in the bottle. Enemy, the Black Widow. STR, 1. AGI, 90. Int, 3. LCK, 15. CHM, 13. Skill, Poisonous Bite SSS+. Poisonous Mist S+. Poisonous Corpse SSS+. Fate, S severed. Victor's eyes hurt after seeing all those S's. This thing was really dangerous. It was silently lurking beside the cave's entrance, waiting for a chance to escape. When Victor entered as Vivi, he quickly used the disguise to hide himself, fearing getting discovered by the Arachne, whom he also considered the boss at that time. But was surprised when his fate instinct warned him about danger. That was when he found this thing. So he slowly approached it and locked it in the only suitable container he had. This pet bottle. Victor slowly took out another bottle from his ring. It contained a pink liquid. Soul-corroding poison. Rank SS. This was one of the bottles he left on the cliff to get filled with the miasma, and they were now complete. He just went back to fetch them and blew up some spiders' nests on the way with the grenades he had. What is this? Alpha asked curiously. A poison. I will kill the Black Widow with it, he said, transferring the poison carefully from one bottle to the other. This position will not affect the Black Widow's body, but just its soul. And when it dies, its corpse would become poisonous. And he could gain a new combined poison. The widow felt the strange liquid falling from the top and tried to step aside, but there was no way to go, and soon the poison touched it, and slowly it stopped moving. Now he only needs to leave it here and see what kind of poison gets created. Dungeon cleared. Congratulations. Countdown until closing. 59 minutes. Alpha looked at the notice, then turned to the dead spider and nodded. This guy may be a pervert, but he is really knowledgeable. If they didn't know about this, they may have had to spend years here hunting every little spider. If you want to hide my bloodline, you better do it now. If I get discovered, they will catch me pretty quickly, Alpha said, looking at the countdown. Don't worry, I already locked down your bloodline. So you will feel a little weak. I can only unlock it when I am next to you, to use the disguise skill on you. And I could give you the Oris jewel we found here, instead. But I have better plans for it, he said, making Alpha a little upset. Alex, get ready. The upgrade will hurt a bit, as you will have to experience a great level increase, Victor said to Alex, who was sitting far away. That Black Widow was disgusting. And after leaving here we will probably end up at the gorge's bottom. You just hide and wait for me. Baron's men will probably be still searching the area. If they find you, just kill them, Victor added as a murderous look appeared on Alpha's face after hearing Baron's name. Don't worry, I will help you kill him. Too bad about the rewards room though, it must be in that cave, Victor said as he monitored Tom, who found it and discovered a huge retractable shield inside. Victor will leave it to him. He doesn't need it right now. Victor suddenly seemed to have remembered something and quickly pricked his finger and began to draw a magical circle on the ground. What are you doing? Alpha asked. She does not recognize these symbols. When this dungeon closes, do you know where it will materialize? He asked as he continued to draw. It should be where we found it, down the gorge. Wait, no. This one has multiple entrances on different continents, so its location must be somewhere else, she said in shock. Exactly. This is a blood target array. I will not be able to use it for the time being. But when I have enough materials to create a greater tracking formation, I will be able to locate this place with my blood and get the real treasures here, he said. What treasures? The rewards? She asked. No, those will go to the guys in the cave below. Look up, he said. The miasma? She asked with uncertainty. The poison in the bottle was created using that miasma. It is a soul poison, he said, making Alpha gasp in shock as she looked at the bottles in Victor's bag. Those things are really valuable but extremely dangerous. Not just the miasma. Don't you feel that it's very strange that this place is well lit? That light passing through the miasma is not sunlight. There must be a treasure up there, but we are too weak to get it, he said, making Alpha and Alex look up again in wonder, as Victor finished his array, then put his bag that contained the bottles in his storage ring. It's about time, he said as he looked at the timer. Thankfully that Sebastian collapsed due to the aphrodisiac's effect and would not wake up until 3 days later. He would probably not remember a thing of what happened, so Victor intends to publish a certain video to remind him. If Nick was still alive, Victor would have thanked him for such an amazing drug, before killing him again. Victor shivered at the idea of this thing being used on him. The only thing left was selling all the low-leveled gems he got, to make his merchant skill can level up, so he quickly did that just before the counter reached 0. Dungeon closing. Awarding process initialized. Thanks for participating. The dungeon was successfully integrated with the world. Victor smiled with content as he looked at his rewards screen. Rewards. Small spiders killed 25,121 1/millionths. Reward 2,512 express. Medium spiders killed 1,132 10,000ths. Reward 5,660 express. Large spiders killed 43 1,000ths. Reward 8,600 express. Huge spiders killed 2/100ths. Reward 10,000 express. Boss Black Widow killed 1/1. Reward 10,000 express. Dungeon clearing contribution 35%. Reward 35,000 express. Dungeon exploration 30%. Reward 3,000 express. Total score 74,772 express. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level 12. Express 6,772 20,000ths till next level. Strength +4, agility +4, intelligence +6, luck +5, charm +2, order +3. Your class has leveled up. Your fate has increased. To D+ rising fate resonance increased. The skill admin appraisal was modified. More detailed fate date. The skill admin merchant leveled up. Cooldown time reduced. More random merchandise. The skill unlimited disguise leveled up. Added taste disguise. The skill master seal leveled up. Number of slaves 3 greater than 4. What does the system mean by taste disguise? Would someone eat him? Wondered Victor as he felt weightless and appeared in a desolate dried riverbed filled with bones, human bones. Is this another dungeon? He wondered but quickly refuted the idea when looking up and seeing the familiar afternoon sky. This was the bottom of the ravine. He quickly activated his disguise skill and headed to Alpha's position. She was quite near, standing together with Alex, while being surrounded by 5 men. Baron's subordinates. One of them was using his phone to contact his boss, but he couldn't do it, as Alex had already impaled him with her spear. By the time Victor reached them, she had killed all the other guys. He stood in surprise while looking at her stats. The fate analysis got more detailed, too. Name: Alexis Donner, female. Level: 71. Class: Thunder Warrior. Abnormal. Status: Blood Slave SSS. Authority: 7. Strength: 165. Agility: 139. Intelligence: 127. Luck: 37. Charm: 50. Order: 30. Skills: Thunder Fist Arts, first half A. Spear Arts A. Spider Hater C. Increased attack against spiders. Equipment: Gender Swapping Ring S. Goldhorn Spear A. Thunder Sect Disciple Token. Cancelled. Fate Status: Fate's Power S. Fate's Direction: Strong Negative Changing. Fate's Design: Unaffected due to the Master's Fate Weaver effect. Total: -S. Dark Cyan. Oh, that new Fate status explained everything. Victor nodded as he finally understood what a Dark Cyan means. She had a strong fate, but it was against her. It seemed to be changing though, but for the better or the worse. He didn't really care. He was just pleased that he had got himself a new powerful butler, and maybe a harem member. Time would tell. Victor quickly went to them, then activated his disguise skill. "Let's go home," he said while watching a bright flare that rose in the sky not far from their position. Tom's location was just discovered. But that guy would never be caught that easily. Chapter 87. Home again. When Victor and his 2 companions reached the mansion, it was already sunset. They were delayed as Victor took a roundabout road to avoid detection. He had to borrow 2 cars. The first thing Victor noticed was the lack of a guard on the gate. He was planning on letting Alpha kill him. But looking at the broken gate, Victor frowned as he hurried inside without speaking. Alpha and Alex looked at each other, then followed. When he reached the front door, he was welcomed by a pretty girl jumping into his arms. "Young master, I missed you," Lily said as she buried her head into his warm chest, listening to his familiar heartbeats. "What happened? Is everyone all right?" he asked with concern as he slowly patted her silky hair. "Yes, only that stupid guard got decapitated," she said without letting go, not caring about how muddy his clothes were. "Let's go inside to talk then," he said, then looked at Hilda, who was bowing respectfully at the door. "Hilda, this is Alpha, my new assistant. Guide her to Beta and the others, then prepare some dinner," he said, pointing at Alpha while ignoring Lily, who was pinching his arm. "This girl is a little jealous. Bad young master, every time you go somewhere, you bring a new girl home," she cursed silently. Hilda nodded after hearing Victor's command, then looked at Alpha. "Miss Alpha, please follow me please," she said while wondering if this was the same Alpha the girls talked about. Alpha quickly followed after Hilda while shooting Victor, then Lily a curious look. That girl's features were somehow familiar. She must have seen her somewhere, but she could not remember when. Victor shook his head, then looked at Lily, who was still hugging him tightly. He slowly brushed her hair to the side, then kissed her forehead, making her relax her hug in shock. "Come on, this young master is tired. Let's go inside. Alex, you go get some rest too, you did great today. He said to Alex, who was a little jealous as he grasped Lily's hand and dragged her inside, where the twins who were peeking from the window quickly saluted with blushed faces. I am pleased that the two of you are fine. Now go prepare some coffee for me, I will be in the study. He said, while dragging Lily to the mansion's study room, which he didn't use before. He remembers seeing a really comfortable armchair there though. And indeed that chair was there waiting for him, surrounded by long bookshelves filled with nothing except erotic magazines. This must have been designed by Nick. What a vulgar taste. But this is good, next time he has guests, he would bring them here to enhance his image. He slowly sat down and guided the embarrassed Lily to sit on his lap, then pulled her over so her body would rest on his. I can relax at last, he said with a sigh. Now, what happened? He asked Lily, whose face was resting on his chest. It was an elder from the Thunder sect with two of his disciples. They came for Alex, she explained, then proceeded to tell him in detail about the battle that ensued in the morning. Not bad. It's my fault, I should have hired some guards. But I didn't want any eyes from the family to come near, he said with a sigh after hearing the full story. Did you inform my father or George? They promised to take care of any intruders, he asked. No, neither of them was available, the assistant told me that they are in the Misty Mountains cleared dungeon, Lily said. Ah, so that's it. Well, no need to inform them anymore, I already arranged someone to fix the Thunder sect, he said. Eradicating a sect is not something that he can do casually, even if it was a tiny sect. But Sebastian was different, as he can do it more silently. Even if he didn't completely destroy them, they would be weakened enough by the time he goes to collect their treasures. As far as he knows, every sect has a secret legacy treasury, and Alex was the main heir, so he must know how to unlock it. After a little knock on the mahogany door, Mana slowly entered while holding a tray with a steaming cup of coffee on top of it. Ah, thanks, Mana, said Victor with a smile as he carefully took the cup while taking care not to spill any on Lily. Mana nodded with a blush, then escaped the room. Miss Lily is getting bolder. We should do the same too, she thought. Victor smiled and began to sip in his coffee peacefully, enjoying such a moment of rest was a rare occasion. This young master thought that after finishing the ceremony I would be able to enjoy some peaceful time, he thought, but until now I have been hopping from one place to another, not a moment of rest. I should build my own power quickly, to free my schedule. He swore silently, as he slowly brushed Lily's hair. The peace didn't last long as it was interrupted by a phone call. Victor gestured to Lily, who quickly took the phone from his pocket, then activated the speaker. It was Arya. Brother, I am calling you to ask if you want to attend a socializing party organized by the city's top investors. It will happen tomorrow at the White Hotel. Arya got straight to the point. Not interested, said Victor without opening his eyes. Are you sure? Your fiancé would be there, she asked, making Lily jerk a little. Still not interested. Is there anything else? He asked. Did you take a look at the family's monthly report? They put your photo on the cover, she teased. What? Not yet. Now go do your job, he said as he hung up the phone. Did the report arrive? He asked Lily. Yes, this morning. I didn't have a chance to inform you. I will go get it, she said, wanting to stand up, but Victor's arm that was around her stopped her. It's okay, he said as he rang a bell beside his chair. After a few seconds Mina entered the room. Do you need anything, young master? She asked, while secretly looking at Lily's sitting posture. Mana already told her, but she didn't think it would be this intimate. Get me the family's report that arrived this morning, he said, so she quickly saluted and went to fetch it. It didn't take her long to get it, then escape the room. Victor took the report and looked at its cover with a frown. He didn't remember when this photo was taken, probably a few days before his return. He quickly found the ceremony's results and looked at his highlighted name. There was a full article about him on the next page. It contained all sorts of facts, how tall he was, how smart he was, his favorite color, etc. Yes, he did do an interview like that before, long ago. I should have known better. But that was not unexpected, Victor said as he threw the magazine on the coffee table by his side, with a cold smirk. Are you not satisfied, young master? Lily asked. Dear Lily, you must understand that an aristocratic family never shows its true fangs. The fact that grandmother made me an elite then published it like that means that she was only using me to attract attention. I would never be granted the true benefits of elite disciples. Access to the family's secrets, he said, with a smirk. He already knew most of those. Ah, so she wants you to be a target for the other families while hiding the true elites. She said. Exactly. It's not like I didn't consider such a possibility. He said. What should I do now? He asked. Prove yourself. Lily answered timidly. She knew that this question was not meant for her. That's a possibility, but I don't like it. He said as he hugged Lily tighter with his arm. If he really decided to prove himself, he will be expected to sacrifice himself and devotedly serve the family. But this young master didn't take all the trouble and risks of time travel to sacrifice himself or serve others. He will do things his way. I will do what they expect me to do. I will be the most degenerate elite they ever had. He said with an evil smile as he took the phone and called Arya. What? She answered with a yell. She was really upset he hung up on her earlier. I changed my mind. I will go to the party. Send a driver to get me tomorrow. He said. I already told them you would not go. She said, sounding annoyed. Then tell them that I would. And this young master would bring an escort. He said as hung up on her again, then dialed another number. Making Lily, who saw it, pinch his thigh hard. Pervert, she thought with jealousy. Ah, hi Margaret, are you free tomorrow night? No, I need you to accompany me to the White Hotel. No, not that, there will be a party and I need you to accompany me. Yes, that party, are you interested? Yes, meet me at the mansion tomorrow then. He said then hung up. Why not take me? Asked Lily in a faint voice. That won't work. You are too pretty and elegant for my plan. I don't want any of those other young masters to look at you in a formal dress and I would need my partner to seduce others too. I can't tolerate others touching you or even thinking about you. My plan requires a slut to make me look like a pervert, he said, appeasing the pouting Lily. That's rude, young master. Miss Margaret has her own difficulties. She said with a little blush. The twins have already told her some things about Margaret. They have known her since they were kids. I know, but she is a slut. I will need you to find a suitable dress for her, just ask the twins for her measurements. I want her to look as hot as possible, said Victor as he took the now cold coffee cup and sipped at it. His grandmother is going to use him as a smokescreen, so he will act as one, an obvious and lascivious smokescreen. Ellipsis. In an old apartment, Margaret was sitting on her bed in a daze when her cousin Lulu entered the room. Ah, Margaret, what are you doing resting at this hour? Didn't Mom order you to prepare dinner? Lulu said. Ah, sorry I got distracted, Margaret said as she sat up. I heard you on the phone. Are you going on a date? It's been a while. I heard that Uncle made you go on all kinds of dates back in the day. Lulu said with a smirk, making Margaret bite her lip. She really wanted to forget her past. But this bitch would never allow her to do that. She really wanted to break the jaw of this cousin of hers, but she lives in her aunt's house. After all, and although they treated her like a maid, they were not that bad. Lulu, don't be harsh on Margaret, a male voice came from the door. It was Abe, Lulu's big brother. Is it true, Margaret? Are you going on a date tomorrow? He asked Margaret with concern, making her want to puke. This guy was worse than her uncle. He tried to set her up multiple times but she refused him. He had a dream to be a pimp. And he considered Margaret to be his first prostitute. Yes, I have a new rich boyfriend. She lied. At best, Victor would consider her a maid or a plaything. But that guy was too powerful, and he gave her a choice, and he said that if she became his he would never let go of her. And that is exactly what she needed. A place to call home. Abe frowned a little, as Lulu knotted her brows with envy. That would not work. As your cousin, I have to go with you. What if that guy is some kind of a perverted young master? He said righteously, probably planning on selling her. Margaret thought for a moment then nodded. Fine by me, but my boyfriend has a really short temper. You have to be careful, she said. This was her last test for Victor. If he fixed Abe for her, she would surrender to him. Chapter 88. Butler. Alpha was guided to a modern building not far from the main mansion. This is the servants' residence, and the girls are staying here with me. The young master has ordered me to supervise their education. Hilda said as they entered the buildings, then climbed the stairs to the second story, where they headed to a well-lit study room. After entering, Alpha silently watched the girls who were busy doing some kind of math problem. She couldn't help but smile. When they were at Titus's mansion, she would secretly teach them each night. But they lacked many supplies. She wished that someday they would be able to live a normal life. And although this life in the hand of that perverted young master was not perfect, she could see that he treats them well. They were clean and well dressed, and she could see that they had content smiles on their faces. That guy may not be as bad as she thought he would be. Beta soon looked up after hearing Alpha's footsteps, her eyes slowly widened as she saw her smiling big sister. Alpha, she yelled in shock, making all the girls look up and see the newcomer. She just froze, not knowing if she was a real person or a ghost. What, you will not welcome your big sister? Alpha said with a smile. The first one to react was Theta, who threw herself at Alpha and began to sob. The girl followed one by one, all hugging Alpha at the same time. Hilda shook her head with a smile as she retreated silently. She had to go prepare dinner, and the girls deserve some private time with their big sister. We thought you were dead, Beta said as she wiped her tears. Yeah, I thought that too. But I was able to survive, she said, without revealing too much information. How did you get here? Gamma asked. I met Victor by chance, and he told me about you, she said. Ah, you met the young master. Would you live here with us? Asked Theta with some expectations. Yes, I am apparently his new assistant, said Alpha with a shallow smile. The girls cheered happily, as they wiped their tears. They were really glad to be united with their big sister, who was their only support during the dark days they lived in Titus's basement. What about you? How did you get into Victor's hands? Alpha asked. Ah, it was Miss Lily who saved us, Beta said as she slowly explained how Lily took them out, then how they emptied the mansion, then rigged it under her command. Making Alpha nod in approval, then curse at how Victor can manipulate little girls when they told her about the choice he gave them. But he was right. If those girls were left to their own means, they would end up dead, or worse. Is Lily that veiled girl? Alpha asked. Yes, she is very kind, the same as you, sister, Ada answered. Did you see what she looked like under the veil? Alpha asked again. No, but according to Miss Mina, one of the mansion's maids, Lily is the most beautiful girl she had ever seen. Beta said. I should take a look at that girl's face, Alpha thought as she sat down with the girls and began to inquire about their living conditions here and about what Hilda taught them. It was an hour later when Mina entered the room. Ah, you must be Alpha. I am Mina. The young master has instructed me to tell you that we will be having dinner in the main dining room, so you should come to join us with everyone, Mina said before smiling kindly to the girl, then retreating. Let's go then, said Alpha to the girls, who quickly nodded, then arranged their books neatly before leaving for dinner. Ellipsis. When Victor entered the dining room while holding Lily's hand, the girls were all seated and waiting for him. He had already taken a shower and changed into an elegant casual. He quickly sat on the main chair with Lily sitting to his side, and Alex standing respectfully behind him. You grab a seat too, Alex, this is not a formal dinner, Victor said with a smile. Alex nodded, then quickly got a seat. Mina and Mana quickly began to arrange the dishes, then went to their seats with Hilda as the meal began. Victor intended for this to be like a big family dinner. Young master, Margaret called me. She wants to go shopping in the morning. Can we accompany her? Mina asked. She no longer got nervous talking to Victor. Not after what happened in the dungeon. Oh, I will go with you too. I plan to let Lily choose a suitable dress for her, as she would accompany me to an official party tomorrow. Just tell her to come here in the morning, then we will go together, he said, then took his phone and messaged Arya to send a driver and a car that would fit 6 passengers in the morning. Mina nodded, then messaged Margaret quickly, telling her to come to the mansion first, and that Victor would accompany them. Alex, I want you to go too. I will have to run some errands while the girls are shopping, so I would need you to accompany me, Victor added. Alex, whose mouth was filled to the brim, quickly nodded. Victor shook his head while thinking that he had to teach that girl some manners. Living as a boy for a long time has taught her bad habits. Young master, I was planning to get a new guard for the mansion. Do you have any preferences? Hilda asked as she slowly put down her fork elegantly. Delay this for 2 days. I have some ideas, but find someone to fix the gate, and purchase some surveillance equipment. We will install them ourselves, Victor replied while thinking about the master ring he got from Nick. It had the marks of 41 slaves in it when he got it. He needs to get those, but tracking them with the ring would require a car. He intends to purchase one tomorrow. Ah, and although you girls can't leave this place yet, take tomorrow as a vacation and enjoy your day with Alpha, he said, making Beta and the others cheer happily, while Alpha looked at him weirdly. She didn't know what he was planning, but the girls needed to relax a little. Suddenly, there was a slight knock on the mansion's door. Victor frowned, then tested Hilda to see who it was. Hilda quickly saluted, then went to the door. She returned 5 minutes later, with a serious look on her face. Young master, it is someone from the family. He requested a meeting with you, so I took the liberty to guide him to the study," she said. Victor slowly stood up. Lily wanted to go with him but he gestured to her to sit down. "Everyone continue your meal, I already know what this is about. There would be no trouble," Victor said as he elegantly left the dining room. Then headed to the study, where an old man, with a straight back, white hair, and a thin white mustache was waiting. He was looking with distaste at the bookshelves. "Young master, this humble one is Olaf, the head butler of the family. I have been instructed to hand you the awards for being appointed an elite heir," Olaf said as he bowed down. "Oh, yes, this young master was busy celebrating with my maids, so I have forgotten about that," Victor said arrogantly as he sat down on his armchair and crossed his legs. "What did I get? The patriarch already gave me a company and some various properties around the city," he said as he yawned lazily. He has not gotten a good night's sleep in a while. "This is a different kind of reward, young master," the man said as he handed Victor 3 envelopes. "The first is the right to command the family's battalion around the city. You can call the number in the first envelope," Olaf said. "Cool," said Victor as he looked at the black card inside the envelope. "The second is a special butler. Just enter the website written inside the second envelope, then enter the key and then choose one from those who graduated this year from the family's servants' school," Olaf added. Victor nodded without opening the second envelope. He will attend to this tonight. The third is the power to use the family's political and financial power globally. This would be managed by the butler you choose, Olaf said. "Now I will excuse myself, this lowly one has many tasks to attend to," said Olaf as he saluted respectfully then left the mansion. Victor frowned as he looked at the envelopes. Those rewards are missing many things that are usually given to elites. Victor slowly returned to the dining room to complete his meal before heading to his room, where he sat on his desk and contemplated silently. Usually, there would be another reward. But few knew about it. It was a chance to enter the family's vault. It looks like he would have to squeeze it out of his grandmother. "Are you okay, young master?" Lily asked with concern as he didn't talk much since returning from the study. "It's nothing, come to have a look at those with me and help me choose," he said as he fired up his computer and entered the website that was written on the card in his hand. A butler is a high-ranking servant who has rights beyond any others and can usually act using the authority of his master. He would manage all of his master's business and act as a connection with the family and the local forces. For example, if Victor had a butler, he would not have had to call Harold when Lee wanted to arrest him after the car crash. He would just call his butler who would then fix things most economically. Every elder or elite in the family may have one or more butlers depending on his rank and accomplishments. George was his father's first butler. And Baron was Titus's father's butler. The website homepage had photos of many men in black butler suits with their names and CVs visible. "Are you going to choose a butler, young master?" asked Lily while she stood behind him brushing his hair. "Yes," he replied as he tried to remember if there were any good butlers he heard of. Soon he stopped at the last photo on the page. It was of a fat but handsome young man. "That's the one. That man looks too lousy, young master," Lily said. "Exactly. That guy looks like a lousy pervert. But he is an excellent butler," Victor said as he glanced at the man's lackluster CV and family evaluation. His name was Kai. When he met him in the past, he was working for his big sister. She has an amazing eye for talent, that's why she could fish out such a gem that no one wanted. This time he will get him before her. That man was simply amazing. Despite his despicable personality, he was very loyal and efficient in his job. His big sister usually sent him to help Victor secretly after he was kicked out. And it took the family 3 years to discover him, then scold his sister. They didn't dare punish her as she had a very unique position in the family. Victor didn't hesitate. He quickly selected him from the list, then entered the key provided by the family, finalizing his choice with a smile. With this guy protecting his back, he would be at ease. Soon his phone rang. So Victor activated the speaker, to let Lily listen too. Hello, young master, this is Kai, thanks for choosing me. I am now on the island and will arrive at Vane City in 2 days. But if you need anything you can call me at this number, I can manage things remotely. Kai said in one breath, making Victor smile as he thought about this guy's efficiency. Sorry, we don't have any young masters here. This must be a wrong number, said Victor. What, wait. Idiot, I am joking with you, make sure you confirm the other side's identity before flapping your mouth next time. Victor rebuked him. Sorry young master, Kai's voice had a hint of embarrassment. Now prepare an unmarked $2 million for me. And I will tell you where to send them later. This is a test for you, Victor said while thinking that it's about time Tom contacted him for the Linda video. Are you really my young master? Kai asked in confusion. You are calling on a secure family phone, you idiot, Victor said as he hung up. Is it okay to scold him like that, young master? Lily asked. Yeah, he works better this way, Victor answered. He had asked his sister the same question and got the same answer. Victor slowly stretched his hands and yawned, then he slowly stood up and turned to face Lily. Let's go to bed. I missed my favorite hugging pillow, he said with a smile as he put his arm around her slender waist. Chapter 89, Night's Whispers. Alpha was staying with Beta and the others in one room. They chose to sleep together tonight, as they missed each other. Hilda didn't seem to mind them scattering mattresses all over the floor. Alpha, who was looking at the ceiling thinking about what happened today, suddenly heard Beta's voice. She was also unable to sleep. Alpha, what do you think of the young master? Beta asked. He is a pervert, like all of them, Alpha replied, but I think he is really nice. He took us in and treated us nicely even though he didn't have to. Beta said, he even let us shop online to get all the clothing and necessities we wanted. She added, was it him or that Lily? Asked Alpha. It was Miss Lily, but she told us that this was what the young master intended. Beta said, I just don't trust him. What if he decided to sell you to some pervert friend of his one day? Alpha said, we are already his maids, what can we do? Said Beta with a sigh. Alpha nodded silently. She didn't reply. I don't think he will do it. We already know he raided Titus's mansion and he wouldn't want others to know about that. And, I think he is too handsome to be evil, Epsilon, who didn't sleep, suddenly said, making Alpha shake her head. That girl is a lost cause. That is the effect of him being a player. The charm stats. Mina told us that players have stats like that video game we played in the afternoon. Beta rebuked. What? They told you about the players? Alpha raised her head and looked at her sisters in shock. This means he planned to keep them with him and not sell them. Yes, did he tell you about this too? It was really hard to believe it until Miss Lily broke a solid rock with her bare hand. Theta said as she clenched her hand as if she was the one crashing that stone. It seems like all of the girls were still awake. I am a player too, Alpha said as she laid back on her mattress. While thinking that Vector may be intending to make them awaken as players too. Like that would be an easy task. Families would spend all their wealth and power to get such an easy method if one existed. What? The girls rose up and looked at Alpha with shock. You are a player. Really? They asked. Yup, it happened by chance. She lied. She has been a player since birth. Are you strong? What is your class? Gamma asked curiously. It's rude to ask a player about his stats, but yes, I am very strong. My class is a warrior, she said, concealing some facts. Stronger than Miss Lily and Aunt Hilda? Theta inquired. Probably, but I don't know their level so I can't say. Alpha replied with a sigh. All of her power didn't stop her from falling into the hand of that pervert, Victor. What do you think we should do tomorrow? Beta asked to change the subject after hearing Alpha's gloomy reply. I think we should use the pool in the gym. The stuff we ordered has already been delivered. And we have to try our new swimming clothes. Delta said. Titus already taught them how to swim. He thought it would be good for the sales. He didn't let them wear anything though. Yes, it's been a while. Said Beta with a smile. Alpha frowned as she thought about Victor's dirty eyes watching her sisters in the pool, but she quickly scolded herself. What does it matter? Why was she too sensitive about Victor? She didn't know. Ellipsis. Alex was sitting on the balcony while looking at the pale moon. In her hand, she held her Thunder Sex Disciple token. There was a scar running across it, making it invalid. Alex could feel this scar running through her own heart. It was all because of her best friend and his father. They conspired to kill her father and take the patriarch's seat. But they will pay. She would make them. She wanted to return after leaving the dungeon. But the young master stopped her. He said that revenge is a dish better served cold. He warned her that every sect has a formation, and even with all her power she had no chance there. She knew that quite well, but she couldn't hold herself. The young master manipulated Sebastian to go there. He would probably take revenge on the Thunder sect, but would not destroy them completely. But whatever he did, that formation would be destroyed. So they only needed to wait for news about the sect to go there. Ellipsis. Mina and Mana were laying silently in their beds when Mina asked. Sister, when should we tell the young master about our decision? She asked. I was planning to tell him after dinner, but he seemed a little upset about something. So I thought about leaving it until tomorrow. Mana answered. I think that's better too, didn't you see how Lily was glued to him? I think it's better to give them some time together. Mina said. Yeah, no need to hurry. Lily has clearly told us that he can't touch women for now. Mana said. The girls were not stupid, they realized that if they chose to stay with him they would be considered his lovers. This was a good thing for them, as they really didn't want to leave each other. And after getting to know him for the last few days, they were not really against the idea. He was rich, handsome, and genuinely nice to them. He even made them players and took care of them in the dungeon, much better than that peeping Tom. They were disillusioned after seeing the perverted recording. Victor was not bad as he acts to be, they could tell from the way he looked at the girls. Although he inspected them repeatedly and appeared like a pervert, there was no lecherousness in his look. It was a warm look, like how a big brother looks at his younger sisters. Do you think he will get his hands on Margaret too? Mina asked. Probably, but that would be better for her. She didn't say it, but I could tell her life is not easy. We would gain a new sister anyway. Mana answered with a light blush. Yeah, I have a feeling that every time the young master goes somewhere there will be an additional sister, Mina said with a sigh. Does it matter? Asked Mana. No, as long as we can stay together. Her sister answered with a smile. Ellipsis. Hilda slowly made a last trip to the mansion before heading to the servants' building. She silently passed through the corridors checking on the girls. Alpha was sleeping with her sisters, she could hear their laughter clearly from the corridor. This was not bad at all. The young master is really great. She has served others before and knows how much darkness exists in the family. For the girls to be able to laugh like that was a real blessing. When she met Victor at first she thought that he was another pervert like Nick, Baron or Theodore. He seemed to be a little too arrogant. But after talking with him she realized that this was all a facade. This young master was a genius. The rumors surrounding him were clearly false, and he was using those to his advantage. He may appear to be a pervert on the outside, and made her really worried when she sent the girls to his chamber the first night he got here. But she had to do it because he was still young and didn't have much experience with women, as she knew about the family's rules. The twins were like daughters to her, and if they were able to gain his trust and approval, that would guarantee a stable life for them in the future. But what the girls told her the next morning excited her expectations. He didn't touch them, just let them sleep with him. But that's not the interesting thing. What mattered was the girls' tone when they talked about him. They were no longer scared and had a really good impression of him. She could hear their little bed talk when she passed by their room. Those girls had made their decision. But that was to be expected, she could still remember how he saved them from Nick that night. He even gave her a healing pill. She knows how expensive those were. And after that, he made the twins players. He claimed it was a coincidence. But she didn't believe it, although unreasonable, her gut feeling told her that he knew what he was doing. And she always trusted her gut feeling. Victor was a great young master, she was sure of it. Maybe being sent here was not a bad thing after all. Ellipsis. Victor was smiling silently as he looked at the sleeping beauty cuddled in his embrace. When he met her for the first time before the ceremony, he was planning to take advantage of her as a part of his plan, maybe exchange her for great benefits from her family. But later after seeing her true beauty, and interacting with her for a while, he began to like her. And he could tell that she truly loved him. But he was hesitant. It all changed in the dungeon. At first he felt a little jealous after seeing that she began to be swayed by Tom. When she protected him with her body. At that moment, he felt something in his heart break. A barrier that he erected after his wife was killed in his previous life. He realized that he truly loved Lily, and he would not tolerate anything happening to her. Now, looking at the content smile on her sleeping face he was wondering what to do. If he really wanted to keep her, he would have to face a lot of trouble. But for her, he was ready to face anything. But the problem was her family. Those guys are still busy for now, but eventually, they would trace her to him. If he really wanted to keep her at that time, she would have to be his main wife. He was not against the idea, as he would treat all his girls equally regardless of their status. But the problem was convincing his family. He felt that he should go to the island and negotiate a deal with his grandmother. Maybe he would be able to fix the trouble with Linda too. But that would have to wait for a few days. He was waiting for something that could happen any day now. He was not sure, since this thing happened years later in his other life. But his actions have sped things up. His first step should be to awaken his and Lily's bloodlines. He had already collected some of the materials, but there was a specific component that was really hard to get. That thing is vital for his plan, as he would need to awaken the girls' bloodlines too before making them players, as that would grant immense benefits. Now, he only wanted one thing. And that was to spend the night with Lily in his embrace. As for the other things, he will leave them until the morning. Chapter 90, Boyfriend. Margaret stretched her body after stepping down from the taxi. She was wearing a white shirt and short jeans. Where is your boyfriend? Shouldn't he be waiting for us? Her first cousin Abe asked as he looked around. They were now next to the mansion's lower gate. Margaret ignored him. Ah, this place is very remote. Are you sure he is rich? Her second cousin Lulu added. She insisted to come with her after she heard that her boyfriend would take her shopping. The mansion is not visible from here, this is its gate. Let's go, Margaret said as she began to head up, while wondering where did that sloppy guard in the iron gate go. She has been here only a few times when she walked the twins home with Tom. Oh, is this his family's house? He should be very wealthy, Abe said as he nodded in approval as he could see how extraordinary the gate was. They slowly climbed the hill while looking around. The road and trees on its sides were well maintained. It took them 15 minutes to reach the top of the road, where they were welcomed by the massive Renaissance-styled mansion on the top of the hill. Wah, are you sure your boyfriend isn't just the janitor here? Asked the astonished Lulu as she looked around. If her cousin's boyfriend was really that rich, she needed to snatch him. Why does this place look like it went through a battle? Abe asked with a frown as he noticed the damaged floor and posts around the front door. I don't know, maybe they are renovating, Margaret said as arrived at the door and timidly pressed the fancy bell button. The doorbell rang with some kind of a classical music tune. Soon, a pretty redhead maid opened the door. Ah, Margaret, you came early. The young master is still having his breakfast, Mina said before looking at Abe and Lulu. And who are those? She cocked her head cutely as she asked. Those are my cousins Lulu and, Margaret began to speak but was interrupted by Abe. I am Abe, Margaret's cousin. Nice to meet you, Abe said as he flashed Mina a bright smile and stretched his hand. Ah, hello, I am Mina, Margaret's friend, and I work here as a maid, said Mina politely, nodding while ignoring his handshake. She can see the dirty look he was giving her, and she didn't like it at all. Abe didn't mind, but after hearing that she was Margaret's friend, he began to weave some schemes. The young master has instructed me to take you to him immediately when you come, but I have to check about your cousins, Mina said as she used her phone to text Victor about the unexpected visitors. Wondering if she should take them there or just leave them in the reception room. The young master quickly replied, let them come here. Follow me, the young master is waiting, Mina said as she got out of the mansion and gestured to them to follow. Isn't your young master inside? Asked Lulu. She really wanted to go inside and take some selfies. She could see how luxurious this place was when Mina opened the door. No, this morning he wanted to enjoy the scenery, so he had his breakfast served to the gym, Mina said as she quickened her steps. The gym? What scenery is there at the gym? Wondered Abe as he followed slowly. Margaret was really nervous. Would Victor hate her after meeting her snobbish cousins? But she wanted to know his reaction. But what she didn't take into account was her cousin's shock when they reached their destination. Abe was so amazed by what he saw that he opened his mouth wide and totally ignored the drool that fell from it. A purple-haired handsome young man was sitting at a round table filled with delicacies and eating alone, while a veiled girl and a pretty boy stood next to him respectfully serving him. He was wearing brown denim pants and a black t-shirt showing his perfect arms. That was what Margaret noticed. Abe didn't look at those at all. What grabbed his eyes from their sockets were the 8 girls in revealing swimsuits who were playing in the pool. Each one of them was prettier than the other in some way. Oh, Margaret, you came a little early, Victor said as he finished chewing his buttered bread. Ah, sorry, my cousins insisted on following me. This is Lulu and Abe, she said apologetically, introducing her cousins. Abe was still in a trance looking at the girls. Hello, I am Lulu, Margaret's cousin. Are you really her boyfriend? Lulu said as she approached him coquettishly. Victor looked sternly at Margaret, who lowered her head in shame. Maybe she shouldn't have claimed that Victor was her boyfriend after all. Not hers, but yes, Margaret is one of my girlfriends, Victor said arrogantly as Lily, gently, stuffed 2 eggs in his mouth, then returned to his back giving him a shoulder massage. Margaret breathed a sigh of relief. Victor didn't betray her. Ah, girlfriends? Asked Lulu as she looked at the girls at the pool. Would the young master mind have another girlfriend? Lulu asked with a blushed face. Lulu, you can't, Margaret wanted to rebuke her, but Victor beat her to it. I don't mind that, but she must be a student at the elite academy. This young master can't just date any random bitch, he said arrogantly, then turned to look at the girls in the pool. Alpha was stretching her slender legs. What? But Margaret is not in that academy. Lulu protested. That's not true. I actually applied yesterday and got approved, Margaret said, making Lulu turn to the back and look at Margaret in shock. What? She yelled, waking Abe from his trance. Is that true, Margaret? Did you get accepted? You must know that the academy costs a fortune. Even if you got accepted, you would still have to pay a lot of money. We can't pay you for that, he said with a frown. If Margaret moved to the academy's dormitory, he would not get a chance to use her. I know, but I already sold my precious thing to the young master, and he agreed to sponsor me, Margaret said ambiguously, making Lily, who was massaging Victor's shoulders, pinch them a little too strong. What? Lulu said as she looked at Victor with greedy eyes. Young master, you must know that Margaret is not a virgin, she said. I am different. She wanted to offer herself but was stopped by Abe. This was not the right time. Such a deal must be done in private. That's disrespectful, Lulu. Young master, I hear that you plan to go shopping with my cousin, would you mind if we tagged along? He asked, trying to act like a gentleman. Why not, but the car I requested would only fit 6 people. So you would have to take your own car, Victor said. Doesn't the young master have other cars? Lulu asked. No, I only moved here recently and didn't have the time to buy one, Victor said as he took out a linen napkin to wipe his hands and mouth, then threw it casually on the table before standing up and stretching. Young master, the car has arrived. Mana came from the back and reported, making Abe look at her, then at Mina in shock. Why didn't you tell me you have twin friends? He whispered to Margaret. You never asked, Margaret replied, making him really upset. His plan is not working. He was planning on selling Margaret or milking some money from her rich boyfriend, but that bitch has probably already sold herself for a chance to enter the elite academy. No, there is a chance to make some money here. He has to find an opportunity to speak alone with that young master. What was his name again? He never heard it. Let's go then, Hilda, take care of the girls for me, Victor said to Hilda, who was standing by the door as he walked out of the gym. What is your boyfriend's name? Abe asked Margaret in a faint voice. Victor. She spat back at him as she followed Victor out and caught up with Mina. Do those girls work here too? She whispered. Yup, Mina replied. Abe, who heard her, gave the girls in the pool one last glance, engraving them in his memory, then left too. He really wanted to use his phone to record some scenes, but he didn't dare to do that. Little did he know that his decision has saved his life. Alpha has been eyeing him for a while. When they returned to the front yard, Margaret could see that there was a luxurious 6-passenger SUV parked, and the driver was standing lazily next to it. Oh, you were discharged. Can you drive? Victor asked the driver as he inspected him. Ah, yes, 2 ribs were broken, but I can drive, Leo said with a little cough. He was discharged from the hospital yesterday with medical advice to rest for a month, but he insisted on taking this job. Getting to know the young master is the quickest elevator towards success. Good, get in, Alex in the front, while Lily and Margaret would be in the back with me, he said as he entered the back seat, followed by Mina and Mana, who quickly got into the seats in the middle. Abe and Lulu looked at the filling SUV with envy. We will be going to the White Oak Mall. Meet us there, Victor said as he relaxed with his head on Lily's thighs and his legs on Margaret's. Soon the car started and went downhill. I have already called a cab for the 2 of you, you may wait for it downhill, Hilda said from the back, waking Abe and Lulu from their trance. They quickly looked at each other, then hurried down the hill without thanking Hilda. What a snobbish couple. I hope the young master takes Margaret in. That poor lass deserves a better family, Hilda thought as she entered the mansion. Ellipsis. Leo kept looking back through the mirror as he drove the car. What the F***ck? I only went away for a couple of days and he already had a new girl. Focus on driving. If you get into another accident, this young master would break the rest of your ribs if you survived, Victor shouted from the back, making him return his attention to the road as he silently cursed at Victor, who was enjoying the ride as Lily was playing with his hair while Margaret was pinching his calves. Since you told your cousin that you are my girlfriend, you must have made your decision. Right, he asked Margaret. She answered with a little blush. Good, you are now mine. You will live with us in the mansion from now on, he said. Really? Mina and Mana turned back to look at Margaret with a smile. Yes, But may I ask you what my position is? She asked shyly. She knew that being his real girlfriend was impossible for her. Especially after seeing the girls today. They were probably his servants. You would be my servant, for now. I may give you a better assignment later. You can claim to be my girlfriend to your heart's content though. The same applies to all of you here, including you Leo and Alex if you ever decided to give up being men. Victor said as he laughed loudly. Alex was shocked a little, then thought that Victor was just joking. Could it be that Alpha told him? No, from the way he treated her as usual she was certain he didn't know. And he also included this Leo in his offer. So this must be a joke. The twins blushed a little but said nothing. Why does he no longer ask them about their decision? Did they need to confess by themselves? That's so embarrassing. Leo just cursed silently again. This driver is a man. He wanted to shout loudly. Margaret nodded. She was expecting such a result. She had already been treated as a maid in her aunt's house. At least she would be with her friends here, and Victor didn't treat her badly at all. With the money she got from Victor and being a player, she can live a comfortable life alone, but after browsing the website Victor gave her in the dungeon, she realized how naive she was. It was an index of all public player websites. Although logging in was a little tricky, using the key he gave her, the process didn't take long. And it was totally worth it. What she read made her realize the difference between commoners and players. And how much power the big powers held. Normal players, although have way better lives than normal people, were just normal wage earners when compared to the real strong families. And they had to risk their lives every time they went into a dungeon. Victor's family, the Von Weiss, was one of the most powerful ones. They controlled whole countries from the shadows. In such families, it is normal for an heir to have 50 to 100 mistresses. Being a maid for an heir like Victor was not bad at all. In fact, many girls would even accept being Victor's playthings, if he allowed them. As he was still young and way more handsome than some of the guys she read about. A phone's ringing sound brought her back to reality. Victor looked at the unknown number with a smile. Your first assignment. Answer, and accept all of his demands. Victor said as he threw the phone to Margaret with a smirk. She looked at the strange number then pressed the speaker button. Is this Victor Von Weiss? A hoarse voice sounded from the other side. This is his maid. I was instructed to manage all of his phone calls for now as he is very busy. She said professionally. What, Mar? No. The voice stopped for a moment as if he was collecting his thoughts, then returned. Tell Victor the first have a video about his fiancée. I will sell it for $1 million. The voice said, making Margaret frown a little. Does Victor have a fiancée? Is she one of the girls she saw earlier? Probably not. Please wait a second, said Margaret as she looked at Victor waiting for his answer, then she remembered that he told her to accept whatever he tells her. The young master is really busy, but we accept your request. Where do you want the money? She said while looking at Victor who nodded. Ah, really? That's good. I have another video about a player countering a dungeon in a unique perverted way. Are you also interested? The voice said with some uncertainty. For how much? Margaret asked. $500,000, he replied. Fine. But we need proof of the said videos before we pay. She said, I have already sent you some still images as a message. The instructions would arrive shortly. The voice said before he hung up. Margaret wanted to look at the photos but the phone was snatched quickly by Victor. That was Tom, wasn't it? She asked, making Victor give her an impressed look. Not bad. How did you know? He asked. I have known him since he was a kid. Only that idiot talks like that. Does he work in the porn industry now? She asked jokingly. He has talent in the field. Victor said as he looked at the two photos then forwarded the untraceable payment instructions to his new butler Kai, with just one line. Pay him. Keep confidential.